Good morning. Karen from Quantum Heart Awakening. This will be a Divine Feminine check-in. I have to share a disclaimer. I've been talking a lot this morning, so I'm a little low energy. But yeah, don't let that deter from the messages. And I just briefly, before I get started, wanted to talk a little bit about responsibility. This has been a theme that's been coming up with many different people in my life, both on a professional level, on a personal level, educators, therapists, from all different people. And, we're really feeling into what is the scope of responsibility here. And some people share their views from a professional standpoint, for example, as a therapist. And I'm, of course, looking at it as an educator, as an oracle reader, and as a guide or coach. And it's interesting because responsibility looks different for everyone. Everyone's heart has a different capacity for love. Everyone's soul has a different mission here. So the inquiry that I wanted to share with you, because I think it's meaningful, and I know most of you are on this path and you're here to step into your soul mission and soul gifts. And so I just thought it might be, supportive or useful to kind of narrow in on this. Do I share this? Let me see how this started. Basically, I had someone in my life ask me, because I was holding a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. Let me be even more transparent. I claimed a lot of responsibility for this channel, for the way that I read. It's very important to me that I have incredibly high integrity. I hold myself to a very high standard when it comes to offering, making sure that I'm not bringing my viewers into a place with the information that I'm sharing that they can't get out of. And this person, who's a supportive person in my life, said, well, is that your responsibility? Or they asked, is that your responsibility? And if so, or if not, what is your responsibility? And my responsibility as a guide or any other capacity is to lead people back to their own power, to lead people back to their own sovereignty, so that whether I'm in your life or not, that you have the means and the tools to be able to access your wise discernment and how to identify what is your intuition and what is just, noise coming from the external. So I don't think it's an accident that I'm sharing this in the beginning of a Divine Feminine reading. It feels incredibly valuable, especially because feminines often are the ones holding the gnosis, holding the wisdom, as we are the portals. But also feminines are often the ones taking care of everybody, right? Feminines are the ones usually bearing the emotional burdens and doing the bulk of the emotional labor. Yes, we are trying to change that. And yes, we are stepping into deeper self-love and worthiness to be able to draw appropriate boundaries around the work that we're doing, the gifts that we're sharing, whether it's personally or in business or whatever it is. We're learning to really take accountability for our energetic lives, our energetic bank accounts, and make wise discernments over where are we investing our very finite and limited energy. Okay, that's my little spiel. I have way more to say about it, but it's not the time or place. So I will leave it there. Let's see where we go. Okay, fork in the road, feminines. And then we have Unfinished Symphony in reverse. Anything else, Spirit? We're getting a bunch. Let me see. Okay, Masculine's actually got Treasure Island the other day. We have this To the Sea, which is very much my Vision Quest card. It's my being called to go be alone with spirit. And then we have deep knowing. Where am I putting this? Okay. Let's see what's in the unconscious. We have, what does it say? Orphaned. Okay. Let me just feel this for a moment. I think feminines, because there have been maybe some unfinished narratives or unfinished threads left in your life, whether that's between friends or family or with your beloved, it can feel a little, when we have unclosed things, when we have incompleted relationships, we could be leaking power to those things. It makes perfect sense. Of course, you had a connection or you had a profound experience with a person, place, or thing, and it doesn't feel like there's proper closure on it. Because of this, you may be having a tough time making a choice at this fork in the road in your life. It's very understandable. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, this is also putting a kink in intuition. And what I'm feeling the prescription is for this kind of blurry, unfocused kind of vortex energy. That's how it feels. It's like, you know, when you're in a whirlpool in the pool, I don't know if you ever did that as a kid, where everybody walks in the same direction for a while to make a whirlpool. And then when you surrender and let the current just take you, it pulls you backwards. Or forwards rather, whatever way you're going. There's something here, in order to be able to go with the flow of intuition, there has to be some sacred space created so that you can reconnect with the divine. This message has been coming up in various ways, and both for feminine and masculine. But right now, here today, feminines, you're being called to revisit your spiritual practices, create sacred, safe, protected space. And I say protected, not just allocated time in your actual schedule, but also time where you will not be interrupted. And maybe that means that you can't do this in your home. Maybe you have to actually create an hour or two or whatever it is for you to actually leave the home and go sit in a park, or go, go listen to music, or go have an experience that is out of your norm. You're being called to step into this idea of radical discontinuity. So start maybe shaking up your routine by doing things you wouldn't normally do. You know, if you see a random flyer for a jazz show, maybe go to it and see how it feels. There's something here about, again, doing something against the current to be able to crack open whatever stuck patterns there are that are showing up for you. If you look at this to the sea card, it's this little fairy girl or whatever, and she's in like a paper boat. It looks like one of those hats that kids make out of paper. And on one side we have this compass, and on the other side she has this pair of binoculars, and I can't see what this other item is in the boat, but notice she's looking down. She's looking down because there's no land in sight. And so what good is the compass, and what good are the binoculars when she's surrounded by water? So this feels like a very hopeless energy. And yet, I don't know if you could see it on camera, but there's this image of this face, and it's kind of creepy, kind of a little eerie, but it also reminds me of the the omnipresence of the divine, of God. And so all she has to do is drop into that true knowing, drop into that inner union with the divine to be able to access her directional path, right? It's funny because it's like the binoculars and the what do you call this? Like a weather vane. That's what it looks like. They're more archetypal symbols to be. What do binoculars do? They magnify or minimize an image. Usually most people use them to see distance, not to make things super teeny and mini. However, there is a message in that you have the power to forge your own course. You have your own navigational pull if you just set the intention and tune into it. And you can actually use these binoculars archetypally to look inward at your at the love you have, and where is that love right now. If you're feeling hopeless or in grief or in any other dense energy, where is that? Where is your hope? Where is your fire? Where is your truth? It is okay if you are in this dense low energy. It is okay if you are maybe not, ignited and on fire right now with your soul mission. I know for about a month, that message of the soul flame continued to come up, and it was a lot of fire energy, right? But that's also not reality to maintain that flame all the time, right? This is temperance. We are being called to mystical sobriety, to be able to temper our mystical path in a way where we are in constant union with the divine, but we're not in constant ecstatic bliss or ecstatic fire, because those are moments, those peak moments are powerful, right? Most of us has had them. Sometimes people call them a spiritual awakening, or sometimes people say I had an altered state of consciousness, right? There's something here that, remember, those peak states of ecstasy or consciousness, they're not meant to, you're not meant to sustain them. They're so aggressive usually to come in to bulldoze something in your life. It's like there's something that needed to be rattled loose or dismantled or demolished. And that's why there's so much life force in those moments, because it needed, right? You can't demolish a building by blowing it down, right? You need to use dynamite. So there's something here that's sometimes the divine and our soul team, or whatever you believe in. Sometimes the universe puts us in situations where the only choice is demolition. And I've had this happen several times in my life, where I put off making a choice for so long that the universe actually made the choice for me. I'm sure you've heard different narratives of that, but yeah, it's a real thing. And so those experiences show up to teach us that we actually have a hand in our own suffering. Sorry, there's something annoying in my mouth and it's really distracting me. Hold on. That was so weird. That we have a hand in our own suffering. That it's, you know what? I'm just going to tell you, I am a procrastinator extraordinaire. I am like the worst procrastinator. I've been like this since I was a child. I would have a huge project and I would start it like at 10 p.m. the night before it was due. I did this through college. I did this in both of my master's programs. I got great grades and I passed everything, but I would put off doing projects until the last possible second. I do this with so many things. And what am I doing? I'm creating so much more suffering for myself than if I just committed a little bit of time every day to working on those projects or writing that paper or doing these things. And so this is just a little bit of a nudge to see where in your life are you procrastinating? Where in your life are you putting off bringing closure to certain areas of your life? Does your job resonate with you? Does your partner still resonate with you? Does your partner or the people you surround yourself with? Remember that, I'm sure you've heard it, that you are the sum of like the 5 people you hang around with. There's always some version of that people have said. But think about that, really. Who are like the 5 people that you are around all the time? Did you choose those people? Were those people chosen for you? Are those people that you admire? Are they people that you would want to be? Do you admire their lives? Would you want their lives? Is there something that you look up to in these people? If the answer is no to one or more of these questions, it may be time to really evaluate, why are you surrounding yourself with these people? Is there an obligation? Do you work with them? Is it a family member that you feel guilty and have to take care of? let's honor the real world responsibilities and life circumstances that arise, but let us not fool ourselves to think we don't have control over this. So yeah, there's something here about, is it time to complete the symphonies? We have this unfinished symphony. Let me just feel this card for a second. You know what? I'm getting the image, and I think this was in an episode of The Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon was doing the Jack in the Box, and he stopped it, or someone made him stop it right before the Jack in the Box came out and scared the crap out of him. It's that feeling. It's that unfinished feeling of like, what don't I have closure in my life? What don't I have? What have I not completed? Is there a degree that you started and never finished? Is there a paper you always wanted to write, or a book you started and never finished? Are you a musician? Are you an artist? Are you, I'm trying to think of other weirder examples other than creating something. Like with relationships, are you keeping alive a childhood friendship that no longer resonates with you? I think most people have had that experience where you have a friendship in your life only because they've been in your life the whole time, and they're just there. Well, that's not very intentional, right? That's kind of a passive way to receive someone in your life. And I'm sure that the energy that you bring to that relationship probably reflects that kind of wishy-washy passive energy. So how can we get that much more intentional about finishing these incomplete parts of life? Or it could be something stupid or minor, like you started cleaning out your junk drawer and then never finished, or you started cleaning out your car and then never finished. You started a book that you loved, but you never finished. I'm a firm believer, by the way, I just need to say this. If you are experiencing something that isn't resonating, I am a firm believer of stopping it, leaving the shitty movie, putting down the crappy book. I'm a firm believer of, that's your discernment screaming at you. This is terrible. I want to leave. But I used to have friends that were like, no, we paid for this movie. I have to see the whole thing. I'm like, why? It's so bad. Let's just go and do something else. We have to call ourselves out to make sure we're really allocating our resources to appropriate channels, to channels that make sense for us. Okay, where else do we go? Let's see. Anything else for feminines? Sorry, I didn't think I'd be talking so much. That was like a whole thing. Let me just remind you, I'm going to put this in the dead center. I'm going to put it right side up. Our entire spiritual path is fueled by our deep knowing. If your intuition is off, your path will be off. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying sometimes we have to travel in the wrong direction to understand what is the correct direction, right? Yeah, we have new beginnings in reverse. We have power. We have music healing. And then we have spiritual knowledge. We have a lot of reversals here. Yeah, I mean, the very obvious message is when you step into your power, all this other stuff will start turning again. When I get this musical healing card, for me, this is frequency work. Anytime it could be literal music healing. Have some of you been really, this is a specific message for someone, have some of you been desperately wanting a sound bowl healing session or some sort of sound vibrational frequency healing, and you've been putting it off forever? It's a sign to go get that healing, whatever that is. I know there's all these new frequency machines on the market. I think they're going to blow up pretty soon. That they're these machines where you can attach them like to your ear, and what it does is it vibrates the vagus nerve, so you can be going about your day and you don't feel it. I mean, you could turn it up really high and actually feel the vibration, but it's a very minor, almost undetectable frequency. So I think a lot of these, you heard it here first, folks. I think a lot of these machines are going to start flooding the market as energy healing starts to become a little bit more okay, I'm just going to say this. It's like the tech bros got a hold of energy healing when, Eastern medicine have been doing it for thousands of years. So maybe that's another message. Do you feel called to Reiki healing or Qigong or any of the other Tai Chi, or I'm trying to think of other ones, or even like any sort of tantric healing where you're running energy, you're running eros or sensual energy up through the channels to activate this like kundalini energy. I'm just saying these things because some of this is for someone out there. Okay, anything else, Spirit? Anything else for these beautiful divine feminines who are so tenacious on the path and have not given up? They're still here, showing up, doing the work. All right, nothing else from here. Yeah, okay, just really quick, in the unconscious, we have flow in the reverse. So where are you stifling your own flow? Is there something, do you really feel called to be creative, but you're telling yourself, oh, that's not gonna, that's not useful. I have so much on my to-do list. I can't stop and paint a watercolor. Catch those moments, because that is your inner saboteur. That is that sabotorial voice that's coming in and pissing on all your dreams. Let me just be blunt about it. I actually really don't like the word pissing, so I'm actually shocked that came out of my mouth, but there it is. All right, divine feminines. What do we got? Okay. We have go within, healing, separation. So yeah, there might be a little bit of avoidance by healing these things. We have practice self-love, nurture your inner child, another reversal. Already these two messages, feminines, where are you not prioritizing your needs? Where are you not putting your emotional needs? I'm not even going to say first, but even allowing them in the room and on the table. Something I always say is all in these moments of inquiry, is all of my truth in the room? You can write that down and put it on a sticky note. Is all of my truth in the room? And this could be in the room in your relationship, in the room with your kids, in the boardroom at work, in the corporate sense. But is all of my truth in the room? If the answer to that is no, you have to understand that you are stifling your throat chakra, and you are nourishing this block by continuing to let this go on. So you're being called to bring all of your truth in the room. And remember, this may not be externally. You may be called to bring all of the truth in the room within your interior castle, right? Within your own self. Can you be radically, ruthlessly honest and authentic in your self-expression to self? That's number one, right? It has to start with us before we can have the grace and confidence to share our truth out in the world. We have High Priest, personal empowerment in reverse. We have the Chosen One, fast track to ascension. We have this higher heart opening, and we have clearing karma, Kundalini activation. I'm putting it over here with all of this other energy healing. That's really interesting that came up. Yeah, feminines, there's a message here that maybe, let's just be honest here. It's really easy when we're so committed to the spiritual path and we have such high visions and high hopes. It's really easy to forget about it. It's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day life of, making lunches for the kids and meeting the deadlines at work. It's very simple to just forget about all of this and forget that you even have a connection to the divine. But remember that you are the chosen one. You would not be having these awarenesses if spirit didn't want you to rely on them and do something with them. You have been chosen. And, if you're someone who doesn't have a spiritual community or spiritual friends or consciousness friends, I call them in my life, it's really hard when you're around very conventional people. We call them muggles, and so does Harry Potter. But if you're around muggles a lot of the time, remember, those muggles hold a frequency. they have a ceiling to their capacity, right? People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. People will relate to you from their level of consciousness. So it's very important, feminines, to remember that, to not let, I feel like this is unkind to say, but I'm just going to say it. You have to remember that not everyone is you. Not everyone has your grand spectrum and has the ability to traverse these, these polarities in the way that you do. So you have to be careful, or not always careful, but just mindful that you may be walking into rooms where the frequency is lower than your core frequency. Now, your job is to become a little bit more diligent and more quickly recognize when you're walking into those rooms. Let me tell you, now that you've heard me say it, pay attention. When you walk into a room, when you walk into your office, like, everyone has had that experience when you walk into a room and, like, shit just went down and somebody, like, something's really heavy and serious is going on. Everyone has had that experience. That's your energy speaking to, because what goes on, believe it or not, your auric field visits the room before your physical vessel gets into the room. So your auric field, and this is a little advanced, but I'm going to say it anyway, you can actually send your auric field, send your energy into a room to survey the territory before you show up. You can do a clearing on that room before your physical vessel walks into that room. It's really cool. When I should do a whole other video on this, but you can actually, almost like remote viewing. I know there's some of you that have incredible talents with remote viewing where you can actually, like, bilocate your consciousness. Your consciousness could be in two places at once, or you could send your consciousness somewhere. It's pretty incredible. And I think these mystical gifts are now becoming more widespread as our consciousness is rising. There's powerful things. There's been, like, documents leaked from the military about remote viewing. Like, it's a real thing, it's not just reserved for mystics in monasteries, or the mystics up on living in the mountains in the cave or something. Okay, so remember again, you are the chosen one. You were chosen to this fast track of ascension because of your, I was about to say initiation, but that's not the right word. Because of this, you hold different frequencies, and you can traverse different rooms, different realms of these different frequencies. And because of that, you are gifted with different awarenesses that not everyone who is around you will have. So this is another discernment piece. And it's, again, I'm reminding you where we started. This is the overall message here, is you're being called to reconnect with spirit, to lean on your spiritual practices, to do what you have to do to come back into oneness, whatever flavor of oneness that looks like for you. Some of you, it's saying, mantras or doing a meditation. Maybe for some of you, it's saying the rosary, doing traditional prayers, whatever, reading poetry, listening to music, whatever that thing is that gets your core frequency to that oneness, unity, consciousness frequency. Do that. That's your path. That's your fast track to ascension. Okay, let's see what else. Do we have any blocks here? Let me see. Let me quickly, I have too many decks on my life. Hold on. Let me just quickly see if there's any blocks to this ascension process, or to reconnecting with spirit. All right, any blocks for feminines right now that they need to worry about? Any blocks? Okay. We have patience and planning and material harvest in reverse. Okay, some of you are thinking that some of you are trying to overly control this thing too much, to control your spiritual process. Remember, this is a quote from Carolyn Mace, you don't need to spend 7 years on your knees praying to get awareness. You don't have to spend a ton of money getting the right icons and the right clothing, and you don't have to look the part to be able to access this divine material harvest. I really wanted a statue of like an ancient goddess, and so I made her. This is my little Mama Gaia. I made her. She has a big booty. That's me. I made her because I love her, and I just really wanted a goddess statue. And it felt really fun making it, and I dropped into that. I don't need her to do my job. I don't need any of these crystals and things. Most of them were gifts, actually. But remember, you don't have to. Remember, the divine is everywhere. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you've been rolling in the dirt all day. You can still, like, God is there too, right? God is in the trenches, even in the face of the most atrocious. Oh, I'm going to cry. Hold on. Even in the face of the most atrocious acts, God is there. And when you bring your awareness of the divine to those atrocious, horrible moments, you are increasing the frequency of the divine love in that moment. This is why we're here, to vessel, to be a piece of the oneness, to be a piece of oneness, like boots on the ground, right? This is why we have bodies, to be boots on the ground, to be vessels of this divine love. So again, you don't need to plan anything to be able to access the invitation to walk through these pillars of ascension. That's exactly how I wanted to say that. I'm happy we got there. Okay, what's in the unconscious? Yeah, spiritual union in the reverse. All right, really specific message coming out. Feminines. There's something about spiritual union that you're pushing into the shadows. The obvious message is, do you still believe that this is not possible for you? Or is there any, because remember, we have this, hopelessness over here that showed up. Is this, overflowing into this idea about union? I've been there. Trust me, when you're in the trenches, it's like you don't believe you're worthy of these things, or you don't believe that it can actually happen. You don't believe that this winding, twisting, crazy path that we've all been on is actually going to, bear some fruits of something. So just track that and hold space. This is the work part, okay? This is the homework part. Hold space for the part of self that is hopeless. Hold space for the part of self that doesn't believe they're worthy for this spiritual union. And that's both internal and external union. Okay, I'm going to end with a Divine Feminine Buddha wisdom. It says, be the embodiment of peace and serve humanity. You are a bodhisattva. I forget what that means, but I think it means that, it reminds me of the Rumi quote of be the soul of that place. You are the vessel of the divine, of this profound peace and love. So vessel that as your service to humanity. And then your past, present, and future are elusive. Be pure. Free yourself from such conditions unimpeded. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.